This is Jonathan Agoff here for Pro Boxing Fans. Delighted to be joined again by David Diamante. We're here in London for the Prograis-Taylor and Chisora-Price press conference. First of all, David, how was Newcastle for you?
Newcastle was just unbelievable. The Geordies absolutely bring it. It was one of the best. I got Regis right there. Someone grabbed my side. I looked over. It was Regis. Just some of the best crowds you're going to get. You know, I think they are really appreciative that the Northeast has some good fighters happening right now, and it was just great. Lewis Ritson put on a great performance, as did Robbie Davies Jr. Really, hats off to both guys. It was an unbelievable night. I think it was a contender for Fight of the Year for British.
You told me before the fight you couldn't really call it between Lewis Ritson and Robbie Davies Jr., and as you said, it certainly lived up to it. Another fight that lived up to it, Fitzgerald and Cheeseman. How did you have it?
Also, you know, to be really honest with you, I missed the first part of that fight. We did a 10 count for Patrick Day, and I was having a little bit of a hard time at that moment, so I was trying to kind of compose myself, and I missed some of the action of the beginning of that. But what I saw Cheeseman do some really great boxing, and I saw Fitzgerald come forward and do some really great punching. So, you know, I had it pretty even. So I didn't score the fight, but, you know, I think the judges did a fine job, and you know, if they want to do it again, they can do it again. But Fitzy came out on top, and it is what it is.
You mentioned Patrick Day. I mean, in Newcastle at the press conference, you made a very heartfelt speech to him and his family. I suppose that was sort of the perfect night of boxing, how it turned out in sort of memory of Patrick Day.
It was one of my toughest. It was one of my toughest for sure.
Now, I want to move on to this card. Obviously, Prograis and Taylor have just had the press conference. Bit of needle between them. It is the best versus the best. How much are you looking forward to it?
I think this is a classic fight. I mean, this is truly a classic fight. I mean, you know, look, in American sports, you got the Super Bowl, and, you know, you've got the best teams playing the best teams. And that's what we want in boxing, but we don't always get that, right? Because the NFL, they can contain it, and they say, you guys got the best records, you have to play each other. In boxing, it doesn't always work like that, right? We've got the networks, we've got the promoters, we've got the sanctioning bodies. It always doesn't always happen. So this is a true best v best. I mean, America versus Scotland, two undefeated world champions. They're both southpaws. They're both world champs. Man, this is a great fight. I'm going to edge it to Taylor. I really am a big fan of both guys. I think both guys are very capable to win this fight. I'm not counting Regis out at all. I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I'm going to give it 51-49 to Josh Taylor. Yeah, he's got the size and the length. That's not really what I see, though, as being the difference, because I think they're going to probably mix it up some. It's more about the sharpness, and I think the speed and the timing, you know, if he can punch between Regis's punches, it's going to be very interesting. But that being said, Josh Taylor does get hit sometimes, and Regis hits harder for sure than anyone that it's definitely harder than Postol. He definitely hits harder than Baranchik. Baranchik's tough, and Baranchik, he's more of a volume puncher. I don't think he's really a power puncher. I mean, he punches hard, I think, Baranchik, but he's more of a volume puncher. But Prograis, don't make any mistake, Prograis can crack. I did a lot of his early fights, and you know, I saw him punch a guy in the chest one time. I thought the guy was going to, you know, have a heart attack. Prograis can punch. So Josh Taylor's going to have to be very careful. I mean, Josh also has a very good chin, but certain guys have that equalizing power, and I think Prograis has that. So Taylor has to be very, very careful.
I mean, that said, you obviously in Newcastle, Lewis Ritson's called for the winner at St James's Park. How realistic is that, the winner against Lewis Ritson at St James's?
I mean, we would love to see it. I think Ritson said it himself. I think he knows that there's levels to this, and these guys are probably a step above. But that being said, this doesn't mean that he can't win a fight against either of these guys if he brings it. I mean, you know, it's boxing, man. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. A lot of people had Davies winning the fight. Ritson came out ahead. You know, it's boxing. So, you know, it's the human spirit. You know, they say there's skill and there's will, and the will is a very, very big part of this, you know.
I mean, Eddie Hearn's described this as the card of the year. We've got Chisora and Price, as I mentioned. Do you see that, as everyone else does, a complete 50-50?
I think it is a 50-50 because I think we've seen both guys come out with big victories. We've seen both guys come out with big losses. I mean, we obviously saw Price lose against, Povetkin, but then he came in with this great win against Dave Allen. We see Chisora get chinned against Dillian White and come back and chin Spielka. So we've seen both of these guys with these great losses and great wins. Price, both guys are super lovable. One guy's from North London, Finchley, obviously Chisora, Del Boy, and then you got the Scouser, the Liverpudlian David Price. They're both super popular. It's a great domestic dust-up, great British clash. Both guys can crack. We know that. Chisora's going to come forward. I mean, that's what's going to happen. He said it, and that's what he's going to do. I think it's really, Pricey, obviously, he's got the Olympic pedigree. He can really box, and sometimes he really boxes nicely. So he's going to have to kind of do that. I think keep Chisora at bay because Chisora has that big punch, and then we'll see how the fight plays out. But this fight card to me is a lot more about the chief support in the main. Although the main to me is we've been waiting for this fight for over 2 years, so I can't wait for the main event. But I love Okoli and Gabu for the European Cruiserweight. I mean, it's a really great fight. It's a Nixon Hill fight, 2 undefeated fighters. And Gabu from West Flanders, same area that Delphine Person is from, and he is coming to win this fight. He's been training at the Ingle Gym for over a year. He left his family, his wife and kid. He's training in Belgium, and that's very difficult to do, to leave your family behind. And he's obviously very focused. He is coming to win this fight. Okoli has a lot to prove. He's had a lot of criticism, as we know, on the domestic side after some of his fights, but he seems to have changed the tide, and he's had some good fights since those performances. He's looking good. He wants to move up to heavyweight. This is going to be a hell of a fight. He wants to win a title, a world title at cruiser, and I think European is a very big step in doing that. So, he's ranked number 2 in the world. I think it's by the WBA. So it's a big fight for both guys. They're putting their world rankings on the line. They're both ranked, and so they're putting their rankings on the line. It's a really good fight. And then to me, obviously, you've got Ricky Burns and Selby. So this is a hell of a fight. 3-time world champion Ricky Burns going against Lee Selby, Lightning Lee Selby. It's a hell of a fight. Former featherweight champion of the world. He's moving up a couple divisions to lightweight, so that could be an issue there, but he's really on the hunt for another strap. And Ricky Burns, he doesn't really have too much to prove, but he's such a tough guy. He's such a good fighter. And Scotland v. Wales, this is a great fight, man. I don't see how you can't like this fight. It's very compelling. It's very similar to the fight when Krallick came back against Burns when he was in the hunt for another title. It's just a great fight that I just can't wait to see. And then and obviously Burns had that great win against Scotty Cardle. So Burns is tough, man. You cannot count this guy out ever. He's really class. So that's a great fight. And then Conor Benn, I think he's incapable of being in a boring fight. I mean, he's just super exciting. So he's defending his title on Saturday night. So Shannon Courtney on the card. It's a great card. A lot of good fighters. A lot of fun.
Can I push for a prediction on Ricky Burns against Lee Selby?
I'm going to go with Selby. Because I think Selby's trajectory is still going up, and I think he's very motivated. And he's the only one that had the fucking balls to take a fight like this, pardon my language. It takes a lot of gumption to go against a guy like a Ricky Burns. So Lee Selby sees something he likes in this fight. I like him in this fight. So I'm going to go with him. But that being said, I mean, it's very hard to go against the Rickster. He's so class, man. It's going to be a great fight, but Lightning Lee.
You mentioned Conor Benn, another explosive performance at York Hall last time out. Are you seeing any similarities between him and Nigel?
I mean, for Conor, I think you would hope so. But it's funny, he was talking about that yesterday. He said he's starting to do things. He was reminding himself of his dad. I think, look, Conor's exciting. And his last fight, he was swinging for the fences. And it was one of those fights where, like, someone's getting knocked out. Like, it's not going the distance. I think, though, you're going to have to see more nuance as he walks right by us. I think you're going to have to see more nuance at 147 because there's some dangerous fighters out there. And at a certain level, it's great to go ahead and do that. But when you start getting up to European and to world level, you can find yourself in some real trouble real quick. So I'd like to see him, kind of work on some other stuff.
A couple other fights, just want to quickly get your thoughts on next week. Katie Taylor bids to become a 2-weight world champion. How do you see that fight going?
Yeah, well, it's going to be great to see Katie back. Obviously, she had a really tough outing against Person. She came through with the victory. She unified the titles. Now she's moving up. She's in Manchester. It's going to be great to see her. And then, of course, Crawler. We were just talking about him, but Anthony Crawler's doing his last dance. So Manchester's a great fight city. Some of the best fights that I've done have been there at the MEN. And what a great fight town. And it's going to be great to see Katie, yeah, for sure.
And finally, Deontay Wilder's fight with Wilder-Ortiz has landed on Sky Sports. How difficult do you think this rematch is going to be for Wilder against Ortiz after last time?
Well, Ortiz is a tough fighter, and everyone makes fun of his age. We don't really know what his real age is, and obviously he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. The first fight was very close. In fact, it's funny. The first fight, I had done a Josh Taylor fight that night, and I was in Glasgow. We left the SSE Hydro, and Chris Billam-Smith, Barry McGuigan, Shane, Josh Taylor, I think Lee McGregor was with us. The whole stable. We all went over and to the hotel, and we all watched the fight together. And I mean, I will never forget that night because we were all jumping, screaming at the TV. I mean, I just named a bunch of true boxing men, and these were great guys, and we were watching the fight, and the first part of the fight kind of was a little bit slow, but I told the guy, because they were, there's nothing to have. I said, wait, it's going to pop off. It's going to pop off, Sometimes it takes time, man. These guys got to get to know each other. Give them some rounds. I said, after round 4, it's going to get hot, and it heated up for sure. I mean, Wilder was lucky to escape, in that round. He got really hurt, but he came back and he chinned Ortiz. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how Ortiz looks. I haven't seen him as of late, so I'm not really sure how he's looking. But Wilder looks good right now. Wilder looks strong. So obviously, I think you have to go with him in that fight. He's got that equalizing power. He's got that super awkward style. Sometimes he doesn't look that great during the fight, but then all of a sudden these punches come out of nowhere and it's game over. We saw it against Spielker, saw it against Molina, we've seen it against a lot of guys. So, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we really want to see Fury and Wilder in the rematch. That's a great one. And obviously, we've got Joshua Ruiz, the rematch there. So this is a lot of great stuff at heavyweight. Usyk's back, and obviously Chisora's talking smack with him, and he wants to fight with him. A lot of great fights at heavyweight. So we'll see what happens.
And one fight I have to get your thoughts on before we go. Not really a fight, but WWE, Tyson Fury's move there. What do you make of it?
A lot of famous boxers have done it in the past, but I don't know a lot about WWE. It's not my wheelhouse. I don't yuck anyone's yum. If you like it, that's great. It's just not. I don't know about it, so I've never watched wrestling. I don't know too much about it. If he's making money, if he's having a great time, hey, good for him, man. I'm happy for him. Good for him. I want these guys to make money. So, but it's not boxing. So if you want to be a boxer, if you want to be a heavyweight champ, whether it's lineal or otherwise, you got to box. So wrestling's not going to help you with that. So, whatever, that's fine as long as, we'll see what happens with Wilder and his fight with Ortiz. If he comes out unscathed and comes out on top, and Fury is ready to go, if his cut's healed, if his WWE thing goes well, then we'll get to see that rematch. And I think that's what everyone wants to see.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Well, David, appreciate your time as always, and we look forward to Saturday night.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.